Good morning, everyone. Let me start by making a brief statement about Kevin Porter Jr. The allegations against him are deeply troubling. Going back a few weeks, as soon as I heard the allegations, I informed his representatives that he could not be part of the Houston Rockets. They understood, and he has not been with the team or around the team or had any interaction with the team since that time, and will not be at Media Day today or in training camp. As it relates to everything else, these are matters that under the CBA are handled by the league, not the team. And what's left for the team to do is to evaluate the best steps for our organization that remain in compliance with the league domestic violence policy.
We'll take first question, Jonathan Fagan.
I do have a question, but I want to, thank you. I do have a question, but I wanted to clarify something you said. Will he ever be part of this team again?
I can't answer that and stay in compliance with the policy, so I think that's, again, this is now a league matter, and that's where it's at.
You structured the contract extension with an understanding that there was some risk, the way the options are and so on. How do you feel now about the gamble that you took?
I mean, we structured that contract not with something like this in mind, but purely as a basketball matter, given at the time of the contract, I think it was 21, and we were trying to figure out how to allocate the chances that he would become a really good basketball player, and so that was the reason we structured the contract that way.
Kelly.
This question for Ime. Your arrival came with, I guess, this calling this phase 2, and it's clear that, as from a culture standpoint, there needs to be a retooling. How do you plan to achieve that, both on and off the court? Is it by adding individuals like Fred and Dylan and removing people that have been, a bad impact on the culture? Or how is that process going to go about?
No, it's a few things. I think the veterans that we added is very important, obviously. To add guys who have won championships, Jeff Green, Fred VanVleet, Dylan Brooks, even Aaron Holiday, guys that have been in the league for a while, that's always an added benefit. Coaching wise, we'll come in and do some things differently as well, but I've talked about it from day one that internal growth is going to be the biggest step for us. So the guys that have been here and gone through the rough times, we need to see growth and improvement from them. And so whether you say it's a culture shift or change of environment and some of those things, I think it's a little bit of all those three things I just mentioned. And it starts with me holding guys accountable and coaching them a certain way, which I'll do a little bit differently than has been done in the past. But the additions of the veterans and the growth with our young guys is going to really help us take the next step.
Jackson.
For Rafael, prior to Kevin Porter Jr.'s allegations, the organization invested a lot into him in these past 2 to 3 years, playing him heavy minutes and kind of grooming him as the franchise point guard. At the same time, there were rumors and even reports about the Rockets' culture and locker room being an issue, specifically with KPJ. Were you aware of any issues with Kevin, and if so, why did the organization choose to look past those issues?
I mean, there weren't any issues like this that I'm aware of, so I think that's what I'll say.
Ben.
This is a question for either of you, but perhaps more so for Ime. From a basketball standpoint, obviously there was a plan for this season with Kevin in place. Now that he's not going to be a part of this, what does that mean as far as filling those minutes, his expected production, his role? It obviously could be internal, it could be external, but what are you looking for to fill that role in the blueprint?
Well, we have really good depth. That's first of all. Like I said, we brought in some players that played similar positions. He was part-time point guard last year, so we filled that void obviously with Fred and drafting on men. Got a young guy like Cam Whitmore and other guys that'll get opportunities. So with those minutes available, like I said, our depth is real. I think we go 12 deep at least, and so guys will get opportunities there. As far as competition and starting spots and all that, there was going to be open competition between him and Jalen and some guys, and so those things will change and shift a little bit, but we still have a lot of depth and a lot of opportunity for guys to step up and take reins of that role.
Brian.
Coach, you got a chance to watch the two rookies playing, Ime and Cam, during the summer league. And Cam won the summer league MVP. When you watched them, how excited did you get knowing that you have these two players, and what did you see from them?
Yeah, I think it goes back to pre-draft workouts and draft day. For us to get the guy that we wanted with Amen at the 4th pick and then have Cam slip to us, we were obviously pleased with that, but they more so showed us what we thought about them in Summer League. Although Amen was short-lived, he played great in that first game, in the minutes he played, and the Cam obviously exceeded all expectations in other people's eyes, but we knew what we got in that 20th pick, and so we're tremendously pleased with those guys. They've been in the gym working all summer for the last few months, so we've seen their growth so far, and look forward to seeing that more going into the season.
This one's for Rafael. The measure of success in recent years has been kind of talking about internal improvement. Does that change at all this year in phase 2, playoff competition, the number of wins assigned, anything in that regard outside of improving?
Yeah, we actually talked about this last night. I'm loath to assign a number of wins just because there's 2 teams in every game. It ends up being kind of a little bit arbitrary. I do think, though, we're in a different phase, and I think the expectations that we both have for this group are markedly different than the expectations of the last couple of years. And so I do expect that we should be more organized, more competitive, and I think all summer the indications are we will be. And so I don't know that it's easy, or I don't spend a lot of time trying exactly to predict it, but I do have very different expectations for this group than we did the last couple of years. Again, we starting really 2.5 years ago, we made a bunch of in-season trades, and we kind of made a decision, and we knew we had this kind of very finite window, and we were going to provide lots of young guys lots of opportunity to play, and I think that's come to an end, and it's much more like Ime said now, competing for minutes, who's going to help us win, and I think I think that's a good thing, and I think our group is going to respond well to that.
Christy?
For you as a coach, when you're taking over a new team, what do you see as the biggest challenge for you personally to kind of put your stamp on the team and make it the way you want it to be?
I would say a mindset shift for the most part. Always kind of breaking some habits, regardless of you have a more veteran team or a young team. I think a lot of that you have a lot of similarities as far as that. And for instance, when I came to Boston, they had some success getting the Eastern Conference Finals, but you still had to change some habits and try to work with the personnel you had there. So it's not a lot of difference as far as that. And we just a few years younger as far as the group here. But that's the main thing. You want to get back to a winning mentality, mindset shift, and really changing habits is the hardest thing. It doesn't happen overnight, but we've worked on that so far, Summer League, and the guys in the gym so far this summer, and seen some good improvement as far as that.
This is for Coach. Specifically about Jalen Green, he's going to an all-important year 3. We all know that he's one of the best scorers in the league, but what areas do you want to see him improve on to go from promising young player to a potential leader of a contending team?
Say being more well-rounded overall. I mentioned that a while ago, and I've talked to him quite a bit about it. And he's a natural scorer, but we want him to do everything. And you have that ability to defend. You have the ability to get to where you want on the court. And it's not only for yourself; it's making others better around you. And so, the natural growth in this, his progression will be big. 22 points a game in your second season shows your ability to score. But we want all of our guys in general, but a guy that's as talented as him to be more well-rounded, and that'll be the challenge for him.
Cody?
Hey, Coach. When you look back at your time in Boston, when you do some self-evaluation, where do you feel you can improve as a coach? You guys went to the finals, but this is, your second year as a head coach, and I'm pretty sure when you do some self-evaluations, you can still find some things that you can do to improve.
I would say recognizing what works for your group quicker, get to that quicker. We took some lumps early in Boston, and it was due to a lot of injuries and COVID, and certain things were happening as far as lineups, but figuring out what works best for the group and kind of get to that quicker. Me and my coaching staff, we just had a coaches retreat, and I brought quite a few of them from Boston, and so we kind of relived what we went through there and how to avoid some of those pitfalls early. And so kind of figuring out our group quicker. It would be the main thing.
Chancellor.
Ime, you have two defensive-minded guys coming back in the backfield, and Tari Easton and Jabari Smith, and then you sign free agent Dylan Brooks, who, of course, will go on the defensive end. How exciting is that for you as a coach, knowing that you have really competitive wings on that defensive side of the ball?
I think it just raises the level of the group. Honestly, we struggle in a lot of areas defensively, and so for us to add those pieces is obviously huge. You got some guys that have that natural mentality, but guys overlook Fred just because of his stature at times. He's one of the toughest, most competitive guys on the defensive end as well, and extremely intelligent. And the things he does and being in the right place every time, it will only elevate our group as well. So you add Fred to the mix with all these guys, and I'm obviously a great wing defender. So I think we have the players. Certain guys don't have that mentality right now or aren't known as defenders, but we'll get them up to speed, and that's the job of us as a staff, myself as well. But when you add the pieces that we add, it just raises the level competitively on that end of the floor, and I think obviously Dylan and those guys that you mentioned will do that.
We'll take three more. Jerome.
Ime, obviously off season, all the news is off the court basically, but for these 6 months or so that you've been in charge, I know you have a lot more control tomorrow when camp start. What have you seen on the court? Are there some specifics that you've seen of guys with some off-season growth that has impressed you?
The talent, the potential, the depth, all the things that I kind of learned about the team going through the interview process, and then the additions that we made obviously raised that. But you look at Tari and Jabari, for instance, in a few games in Summer League, their growth from year 1 to year 2, and just the carryover that Jabari had from the end of the season to his great games in Summer League, and what he's done in the gym recently just continue to elevate. And so we look forward to guys like him having a big year. But overall, the depth, like I keep talking about, I've been on some teams that had really good depth, won some championships, but we, like I said, go 1 through 12 with a lot of confidence and a lot of guys. And so gives us a lot of versatility, but the potential of the group and the additions of the veterans give us experience, but I'm excited about the overall group in general.
Kim.
Hey, Coach, can you talk about, I know you haven't gotten to camp yet, but what would be the identity of this team, what you see already on the court? What kind of play would people expect to see?
Yeah, effort is a big thing. Playing extremely hard. I want people to look at us and look visually different than we have in the past, and that's from an effort standpoint. But unselfishness on the offensive end, collectively playing defense together as a group and individually. So I think we do have the defenders, and that side of the ball is easier to get up to speed, and then you learn each other offensively, especially with the new guys we've added and the style we want to play. So I think well-rounded in general is always the goal for us, and whether a guy can score or shoot or pass, we want guys to be all around in general, all of our players. And so that's the goal for us, to improve guys' weaknesses and use their strengths. And so the defensive side of the ball, I think we have the players to be really good on that end initially, and then offensively getting up to speed with each other will be the goal.
Terrence.
This question is for both of you. When you look at the talent that you guys have brought in and the talent that you guys have had here, I mean, what kind of step are you guys prepared to make or think you can make this season with this collection of players?
I mean, I think Ime said in his very first statement, a lot of it is just with the age of our players, we do expect a lot of internal natural improvement. The guys we've drafted just have not been very experienced. I think Alperin was maybe the youngest guy in his draft. Jabari was certainly one of the youngest 2 or 3. I think Cam again is maybe the youngest guy in the draft. And so when you bringing in people that age, they should be improving at a quicker rate than someone who comes in at 23, 24 years old, in theory. And so I think that's my expectation, is really that we're going to see the fruits of their labor quickly. And I do think that the additions we were able to make this off season will put people in a position to have to do less and to be more successful. And so, that's what I think.
Yeah, to piggyback on that, I think just in general, we mentioned the talent that we have, and this time, potential is only a word, and we need to kind of achieve their growth. And so guys being held to a different standard to play a certain way, you'll see that rapid improvement. we keep talking about the additions. Obviously, when you add certain guys to the roster, things can change quickly. And so for us, it's being ultra competitive, playing a different way, and making some noise every night. And so we want to take those steps. And like we talked about, we're not going to put a number on wins, but being competitive every night and playing with the proper effort will give you a great chance. And that's the goal for me as a coach.
Thank you, gentlemen.